When pressure reveals true strength begins with recognizing a truth that many chosen ones eventually experience on their path. Adversity rarely arrives gently, and when it does appear, it often feels overwhelming at first. Difficult situations have a way of testing not only a person's patience, but also their identity, confidence, and sense of direction. In recent moments, many chosen ones have found themselves standing in the middle of circumstances that seemed unfair, confusing, or emotionally exhausting. These situations may have involved betrayal, misunderstanding, rejection, or pressure from people who doubted their ability to endure. When adversity arrives like this, it can create the illusion that everything is working against you. The environment may suddenly feel unstable, as if the ground beneath your feet has shifted. People around you may begin questioning your decisions, challenging your character, or expecting you to lose your composure under the weight of the challenge. Yet moments like these carry a deeper purpose that often becomes visible only after the pressure has passed. Adversity has a unique ability to expose the strength that already exists within someone. While comfort can hide potential, difficulty forces that potential to reveal itself. The situation you recently faced may have appeared like a test designed to break your spirit or weaken your confidence. Observers might have expected you to react with frustration, doubt, or emotional collapse. Some individuals may have even believed that the pressure would finally reveal your limitations. But what actually happened told a completely different story. Instead of collapsing under the weight of adversity, you demonstrated resilience that surprised even those who were watching closely. In the middle of uncertainty, you maintained clarity. In the face of pressure, you remained steady. While circumstances attempted to shake your confidence, you continued moving forward with composure. This response revealed something important about your character. True strength is not always visible during easy moments, when everything flows smoothly. Real strength appears when the situation becomes difficult and someone still chooses to stand firm. The way you handled adversity became a quiet but powerful demonstration of inner stability. It showed that your identity is not defined by the challenges placed in front of you, but by the discipline with which you respond to them. Even if you did not fully realize it at the time, the moment you continued standing strong in the face of difficulty revealed a depth of resilience that many people spend their entire lives trying to develop. The central message of this moment therefore becomes clear. The adversity you faced was not simply a problem to endure, but an opportunity to reveal the strength that was already growing within you. What others expected to break you instead became the moment where your true resilience became visible. The storm that tried to shake you begins with acknowledging that adversity rarely announces itself in advance. Most of the time, it arrives quietly at first, disguised as a minor inconvenience, an unexpected conflict, or a situation that feels slightly uncomfortable but manageable. Yet as time passes, that small disturbance begins to grow. What once seemed like a passing difficulty gradually reveals itself as something much larger, something capable of testing not only your patience, but your sense of stability as well. Many chosen ones recognize this pattern because their journeys often include moments where circumstances appear to align against them all at once. Problems surface from different directions, misunderstandings begin multiplying, and people who once seemed supportive suddenly appear distant or critical. In these moments, the experience can feel like standing in the middle of a storm that refuses to calm down. The winds of doubt start blowing from outside voices, while waves of uncertainty rise within the mind itself. Questions begin appearing that were never present before. Why is this happening now? Why does it feel like everything is becoming difficult at the same time? What did I do to deserve this challenge? These questions are natural responses to adversity because human beings are wired to search for explanations when they encounter pressure. The mind tries to organize the chaos by identifying causes, reasons, or even someone to blame. But storms do not always arrive because of a single cause. Sometimes they appear simply because life has reached a moment where growth requires resistance. The storm you faced may have seemed sudden, but its presence was not meaningless. Like powerful winds that test the roots of a tree, adversity often emerges to reveal how deeply someone is grounded. Trees that grow in calm environments develop shallow roots because they never need to anchor themselves against pressure. Trees that survive storms, however, grow stronger foundations because every gust of wind forces their roots to dig deeper into the earth. The storm that tried to shake you functioned in a similar way. On the surface, it may have looked like a series of obstacles designed to slow you down or discourage you from continuing forward. Yet beneath that appearance was an opportunity to strengthen something far more important than comfort. The pressure of the situation forced you to confront your own resilience. At the beginning of the storm, it may have felt overwhelming. Difficult moments have a way of amplifying uncertainty because they interrupt the rhythm of everyday life. When people encounter adversity, they often feel as though the stability they relied upon has suddenly disappeared. Familiar routines become disrupted, plans become uncertain, and the sense of control that once existed begins to fade. In that environment, it becomes easy to believe that the storm is stronger than you are. Yet the truth revealed itself slowly as the situation continued unfolding. Despite the intensity of the challenge, you did not disappear beneath it. The winds of adversity pushed against you, but they did not uproot you. Each day that you continued standing became proof that the storm had encountered something stronger than it expected. The strength that carried you through that moment did not come from sudden courage appearing at the last second. It came from qualities that had been quietly developing within you long before the storm arrived. Resilience is rarely built during moments of crisis. It is cultivated gradually through smaller challenges that prepare someone for larger ones. Every time you chose patience over frustration in the past, you strengthened your ability to remain calm under pressure. Every moment when you learned from difficulty rather than running away from it added another layer of stability to your character. By the time this storm appeared, you had already been developing the internal strength required to face it. Even if you did not consciously recognize that preparation at the time, your response revealed that it was there. While the storm attempted to shake your confidence, something inside you refused to surrender completely. That inner resistance became the quiet force that allowed you to continue moving forward, even when the situation felt uncertain. Some days may have been more difficult than others. There may have been moments when exhaustion or doubt tried to convince you that the storm was too strong to endure. Yet even during those moments, something within you continued pushing forward. This is often how real resilience appears. It does not always look dramatic or heroic from the outside. Sometimes it simply looks like persistence. It looks like waking up each day and deciding to keep moving, despite the discomfort surrounding you. Observers who watched the storm unfold may not have fully understood the internal battle you were navigating. From the outside, people often see only the visible events of a situation. They see the challenges, the conflicts, or the tension in the environment. What they rarely see is the internal strength required to remain steady while those circumstances unfold. Yet the way you handled the storm eventually revealed that strength clearly enough for others to notice. The fact that you continued standing despite the pressure became a powerful message in itself. Storms have an interesting way of exposing the difference between appearance and reality. Before adversity arrives, people often form assumptions about who appears strong and who appears vulnerable. They judge based on confidence, personality, or outward behavior. But when a real storm appears, those assumptions are tested. Some individuals who seemed confident may struggle when the winds of adversity begin blowing. Others who appeared quiet or reserved may reveal a surprising level of stability. The storm you faced became one of those moments where perception and reality began separating. People who witnessed the situation started noticing that you were not reacting in the way they might have expected. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you remained present. Instead of surrendering to discouragement, you continued searching for clarity within the chaos. This realization gradually changed how the storm itself was interpreted. What initially appeared to be a challenge meant to weaken you, slowly became a demonstration of your endurance. Each time the winds pushed against you and you remained standing, the storm lost a little of its power. Adversity can only defeat someone who believes they cannot endure it. The moment someone recognizes that they are capable of standing through difficulty, the storm begins transforming into something else entirely. It becomes a test that reveals strength rather than a force that destroys it. Looking back, the storm that tried to shake you may still feel uncomfortable to remember. Difficult experiences rarely feel pleasant, even when they lead to growth. Yet when viewed from a broader perspective, the storm reveals something remarkable about your journey. It proved that your strength is not theoretical or imagined. It is real, grounded in experience, and capable of enduring pressure. Many people spend years believing they are resilient, without ever facing a situation that truly tests that belief. You encountered such a situation and discovered that the resilience within you was stronger than the storm surrounding you. That realization carries a powerful meaning for everything that comes next. Once someone has faced adversity and remained standing, future storms lose much of their intimidation. The memory of surviving the previous challenge becomes a reminder that strength already exists within you. The storm that tried to shake you, therefore, became more than a moment of difficulty. It became a demonstration of stability that no external circumstance can easily erase. And while storms may continue appearing throughout life in different forms, the experience you gained from standing through this one ensures that you will face them with a deeper awareness of your own resilience. Why adversity targets strong people begins revealing its deeper meaning when you step back and look at the pattern that often surrounds individuals who carry resilience, purpose, or influence. Adversity does not distribute itself evenly across every life. Some people move through long seasons where challenges appear manageable and predictable, while others repeatedly encounter moments that test their patience, character, and endurance. At first glance, this imbalance may appear unfair. It can create the impression that certain individuals are singled out by circumstances in ways that seem excessive or unnecessary. Yet when viewed more carefully, adversity often gravitates toward people who possess the potential to grow stronger through it. Pressure tends to gather around places where something meaningful is developing. Just as a seed must push through dense soil before it reaches the sunlight, individuals who carry significant potential often face resistance before their strength becomes visible. The resistance is not always intentional or malicious. Sometimes it is simply the natural tension that arises whenever someone begins moving beyond the ordinary expectations placed upon them. When a person begins growing into greater awareness, discipline, or leadership, the environment around them inevitably reacts. That reaction can appear in many forms. It may emerge as criticism, doubt, obstacles, or situations that challenge their confidence. In many cases, the adversity seems almost personal, as if life itself has chosen to focus its difficulties on that particular individual. Yet what is actually happening is something far more complex. Growth changes the balance of familiar environments. When someone evolves, the patterns around them begin shifting as well. People who were comfortable with the previous version of that individual may feel uncertain about the change. Circumstances that once felt stable may begin rearranging themselves. Adversity often appears during these transitions because transformation rarely occurs in a perfectly calm environment. The friction created by change becomes the very force that shapes resilience. For chosen ones, this dynamic can become especially noticeable. Individuals who carry strong intuition, integrity, or clarity often encounter challenges that seem disproportionate to their intentions. They may ask themselves why life appears to demand more endurance from them than from others. The answer lies partly in the role adversity plays in revealing strength. Pressure does not create strength from nothing. It reveals the strength that already exists beneath the surface. Without resistance, that strength might remain hidden or underdeveloped. Just as metal becomes stronger when it is forged through heat and pressure, human character often becomes more refined through difficulty. The adversity you faced was not random chaos thrown into your life without purpose. It was a moment where pressure met potential. The environment around you may not have consciously understood what was happening, but the situation itself became a kind of proving ground. When storms gather around individuals with strong roots, those storms test whether the roots are deep enough to hold. Your experience demonstrated that they were. At the beginning of the challenge, the adversity may have seemed overwhelming precisely because it arrived with such intensity. Many chosen ones encounter moments where multiple difficulties appear simultaneously, as if life is asking several difficult questions at once. When this happens, it is natural to wonder whether the challenges are signs of failure or misdirection. Yet adversity often appears in clusters when someone is approaching a period of transformation. The pressure increases because the environment itself is adjusting to the strength that is emerging. Imagine a river carving its way through rock over many years. The rock does not move easily, and the river must apply constant pressure before the path becomes clear. In the same way, the adversity you faced functioned like the rock that resists movement until enough persistence reshapes it. Each obstacle you encountered demanded a response. Each moment of doubt asked whether you would continue forward or retreat into safety. The fact that you continued standing through those moments revealed that your strength was not dependent on comfort. It existed independently of the situation itself. Another reason adversity often appears around strong individuals is that strength tends to challenge existing patterns. When someone develops resilience, they become less predictable and less easily influenced by circumstances or by the opinions of others. This independence can disrupt environments that are accustomed to certain roles or expectations. People who operate with clarity may unintentionally expose weaknesses in systems built on confusion or assumption. Situations that rely on passivity may react strongly when someone refuses to remain passive. In these cases, adversity becomes a form of resistance, generated by the environment itself. It attempts to pull the individual back into familiar patterns, but when someone has already begun developing deeper awareness, those attempts often fail. The adversity you encountered may have been part of this broader dynamic. It may have been the environment reacting to the stability that was already forming within you. Instead of weakening your resolve, however, the pressure revealed that your resilience had already grown beyond the point where external circumstances could easily control it. Observers who watched the situation unfold may not have immediately understood the deeper significance of what was happening. They may have simply seen someone facing a difficult moment. Yet the way you responded gradually revealed something important about the relationship between adversity and strength. When someone handles difficulty with composure and determination, it challenges the assumption that adversity must defeat those who encounter it. People begin realizing that hardship does not always produce collapse. Sometimes it produces clarity. The storm that appeared in your life therefore became a demonstration not only of your endurance, but of the broader principle that adversity often follows strength rather than weakness. It arrives where growth is already taking place, because growth naturally generates resistance. Just as muscles become stronger by pushing against weight, resilience becomes stronger by pushing against challenge. This perspective transforms how adversity is understood. Instead of seeing it solely as a punishment or setback, it can be recognized as a signal that something meaningful is developing beneath the surface. The chosen one's journey often includes these moments, because individuals who carry resilience tend to move through environments where change is inevitable. The adversity you faced therefore became part of a larger process of revelation. It exposed your capacity to endure difficulty without losing direction. It showed that your strength was not theoretical but practical, capable of operating under pressure. And perhaps most importantly, it demonstrated that adversity does not always target people in order to defeat them. Sometimes it targets them because they possess the potential to rise above it and reveal a deeper level of character. The moment you refused to break began quietly, almost invisibly, long before anyone around you fully realized what was happening. Most turning points in life do not arrive with dramatic announcements or visible declarations of strength. Instead, they emerge within the inner landscape of the mind, in a moment where a person decides, sometimes silently and without witnesses, that they will not allow circumstances to define their outcome. The adversity you faced carried the kind of pressure that often forces such moments into existence. The storm surrounding you created an atmosphere where doubt could easily take root. When situations become difficult, the human mind begins presenting a long list of possibilities, many of which are shaped by fear or uncertainty. Questions begin appearing with greater intensity. What if the challenge becomes too overwhelming? What if everything falls apart? What if the effort required to keep going becomes greater than the strength available to continue? These questions are part of the natural response to adversity because the mind is designed to evaluate risk. Yet the moment you refused to break did not come from eliminating those questions. It came from deciding that the presence of uncertainty would not control your actions. This decision is one of the most important psychological turning points a person can experience. When adversity pushes against someone repeatedly, it attempts to shift their internal narrative. It tries to convince them that surrender would be easier than persistence. In many situations, people do eventually reach a point where they step away from the challenge simply because the pressure becomes exhausting. There is no shame in recognizing limits, but the moment you faced presented a different path. Instead of accepting the narrative that adversity was trying to impose, you chose to stand firm in your own understanding of who you are. This refusal to break was not necessarily loud or dramatic. It may have looked from the outside like nothing more than quiet persistence, yet internally it represented a powerful declaration. The storm would not determine the direction of your life. That declaration changed the entire dynamic of the situation. Adversity functions partly through psychological pressure. When challenges appear overwhelming, they attempt to create the belief that resistance is pointless. The moment someone rejects that belief, the power of adversity begins weakening. By deciding to continue forward, you effectively interrupted the psychological momentum that the storm had been building. Instead of allowing the pressure to define your response, you redefined the meaning of the pressure itself. The difficulty became something to endure rather than something to escape. This shift in perspective is often the hidden source of resilience. People who demonstrate extraordinary endurance are not always the strongest physically or the most confident socially. Often they are simply individuals who have decided that their values and goals matter more than the discomfort surrounding them. The moment you refused to break, therefore, became an internal alignment between identity and action. You recognized that the adversity you were facing was temporary, while the strength you were building through it could remain permanent. Once that realization forms, the relationship between a person and their challenges begins changing. Difficult situations still feel uncomfortable, but they no longer appear insurmountable. They become obstacles rather than barriers. Observers who watch the situation unfold may not have been aware of the internal process that led to this moment. From their perspective, they simply saw someone continuing forward despite pressure that might have stopped others. Yet even without understanding the internal decision behind your persistence, people often recognize its effects. They notice when someone refuses to surrender under circumstances where surrender might appear reasonable. They see how determination slowly reshapes the outcome of events that initially seemed destined to end differently. This is why moments of resilience often leave strong impressions on those who witness them. They reveal something fundamental about human strength. It does not always depend on perfect conditions. It can exist even when conditions are difficult or uncertain. The moment you refused to break also revealed something important about your relationship with adversity. Instead of interpreting the storm as a signal to retreat, you began seeing it as a challenge to overcome. This interpretation matters more than many people realize. The meaning someone assigns to adversity strongly influences how they respond to it. If difficulty is interpreted as proof of failure, discouragement quickly follows. If it is interpreted as part of a process of growth, perseverance becomes possible. Your decision to keep standing indicated that you were already leaning toward the second interpretation. You understood, perhaps instinctively, that the storm did not define your worth or potential. It was simply a moment within a much larger journey. As time continued moving forward, the effects of your decision became increasingly visible. The storm that once appeared overwhelming gradually lost its ability to intimidate you. Each day that you remained standing strengthened your confidence in your own resilience. Confidence built through adversity tends to be far more stable than confidence built through comfort, because it is grounded in real experience. You no longer had to wonder whether you were capable of enduring difficulty. You had already proven it to yourself. This internal proof became a source of quiet power moving forward. People who develop this kind of resilience often discover that future challenges feel different from earlier ones. While adversity still appears from time to time, it no longer carries the same psychological weight. The memory of having survived previous storms creates a deeper sense of stability. When new difficulties arise, the mind can draw upon those memories as evidence that endurance is possible. In this way, the moment you refused to break became more than a single turning point. It became part of a foundation that will support you through many future challenges. The strength revealed in that moment continues existing long after the storm itself has passed. It remains within you as proof that resilience is not an abstract concept, but a lived reality. And once someone experiences that reality for themselves, they carry a deeper understanding of their own capacity to stand firm when life attempts to shake them again. Strength is not loud, it is stable. Begins revealing an important truth that many people misunderstand when they think about what real power looks like. In many environments, strength is often associated with visible dominance. People imagine strength as someone speaking louder than others, confronting challenges aggressively, or proving their resilience through dramatic displays of confidence. These outward expressions of force can certainly capture attention, but they do not always represent the deepest form of strength. The adversity you faced revealed something different, something quieter but far more durable. Real strength does not always announce itself through noise or confrontation. Instead, it shows itself through stability. It appears when someone remains grounded, even while the world around them becomes chaotic. When the storm tried to shake you, the strength you demonstrated did not come from overpowering the situation or aggressively fighting against it. Your strength came from the ability to remain steady while the pressure pushed against you. Stability is often invisible at first because it does not seek attention. A stable foundation does not need to prove itself loudly. It simply holds its ground while everything around it moves. During the moment of adversity, this kind of stability became visible in the way you carried yourself through uncertainty. While emotions and reactions might have been rising around you, your response reflected something deeper than impulse. It reflected control. Control over your thoughts, control over your reactions, and control over the way you interpreted the situation itself. This type of control is rarely developed overnight. It grows gradually through experience, reflection, and the willingness to learn from earlier challenges. Long before the storm arrived, you had already been building the habits that allowed you to remain stable in the middle of pressure. Every time you chose patience over impulsive reaction, you strengthened your ability to maintain composure. Every moment when you paused to observe rather than immediately respond added another layer of awareness to your character. These quiet choices rarely attract attention in ordinary circumstances, but they become incredibly important when adversity appears. When the storm finally arrived, the stability you had developed internally began guiding your behavior naturally. Instead of reacting to every wave of difficulty, you remained anchored in your understanding of who you are. This anchoring is the essence of stable strength. It means that external circumstances cannot easily control your internal state. The environment may shift, pressure may increase, and uncertainty may appear, but the core of your identity remains intact. Observers who witnessed your response during the difficult moment may not have fully understood the depth of what they were seeing, but they likely recognized the difference between reaction and stability. Reaction tends to appear fast and emotional. It often looks like someone being pulled by the energy of the moment, rather than directing that energy themselves. Stability, on the other hand, looks calm and deliberate. It carries a sense of balance that does not depend on immediate victory or validation. When people see someone remain stable under pressure, it often creates a powerful impression because stability communicates reliability. It shows that the person standing in front of them is not easily shaken by temporary circumstances. This is why stability is one of the most valuable qualities a person can develop. In environments where emotions fluctuate and situations change quickly, stability becomes a form of leadership, even if the person demonstrating it never intended to lead. People naturally gravitate toward individuals who appear grounded because stability creates a sense of safety. It signals that the person possesses enough internal clarity to navigate complexity without becoming overwhelmed by it. The way you handled adversity demonstrated this exact quality. Instead of reacting to every challenge as if it were a personal attack, you approached the situation with composure. This composure allowed you to think clearly, while others might have been reacting emotionally. Clarity under pressure is one of the most powerful advantages someone can possess. When the mind remains calm, it can evaluate situations more accurately. Decisions become more thoughtful, and responses become more effective. Stability therefore transforms adversity into something manageable rather than something overwhelming. Another important aspect of stable strength is patience. Many people believe strength requires immediate action, but patience often produces better results than impulsive reaction. When someone reacts too quickly to adversity, they may become trapped in the emotional momentum of the moment. Patience interrupts that momentum. It creates space for reflection, understanding, and strategic response. The stability you demonstrated likely included moments where you allowed events to unfold without rushing to control them. From the outside, this patience may have appeared quiet or reserved, but internally, it represented discipline. It showed that you trusted your ability to endure uncertainty without needing immediate resolution. Over time, people around you began noticing that the strength you displayed did not depend on dominating the situation. Instead, it depended on your ability to remain balanced within it. Balance is one of the clearest signs of inner resilience because it means someone can face both difficulty and success without losing perspective. When adversity appears, balance prevents panic. When success appears, balance prevents arrogance. This equilibrium allows a person to navigate life's extremes without becoming consumed by them. The adversity you faced therefore became an opportunity to demonstrate that your strength was not tied to temporary conditions. It existed independently of the storm itself. The storm could challenge you, but it could not remove the stability you had already developed. This realization carries a powerful message not only for those who witnessed the moment, but also for you moving forward. Once someone recognizes that their strength comes from stability rather than external circumstances, adversity loses much of its ability to intimidate them. Future challenges may still appear difficult, but they no longer seem capable of destroying the foundation that has already proven itself. Stability becomes a quiet confidence that travels with you through every situation. It reminds you that storms may shake the surface of your life, but they cannot easily uproot the core of who you are. And when others look at the way you handled adversity, what they often see is not just someone who survived a difficult moment, they see someone whose strength remained steady while the storm tried to move everything else. The lesson: adversity teaches begins revealing itself only after the intensity of the storm has started to pass, when the mind finally has enough distance to reflect on what truly happened. During the moment of difficulty itself, most people are too focused on surviving the pressure to understand its deeper meaning. The immediate goal becomes endurance. Emotions are active, questions are loud, and the situation feels urgent. But once the storm begins settling and the environment grows quieter again, reflection naturally follows. It is during this reflective phase that adversity often reveals its most important lesson. The challenges that once seemed chaotic start forming patterns. The events that felt random begin connecting into a larger story, and slowly, a realization emerges. The adversity was not merely an obstacle that appeared to make life harder. It was an experience that exposed parts of your strength that might have remained hidden otherwise. Difficult moments have a unique ability to teach lessons that comfort never can. When life moves smoothly, people often rely on habits and assumptions without questioning them. Stability can sometimes create a sense of routine that hides deeper potential. Yet when adversity interrupts that routine, it forces someone to look inward. Questions begin forming that might never have appeared during easier times. What truly matters to me? What am I capable of enduring? What values am I willing to defend even when circumstances become difficult? These questions transform adversity into a kind of mirror. Instead of only revealing the harshness of the external situation, the mirror reflects the internal strength that responds to it. In your case, the lesson began forming through the way you handled the pressure placed in front of you. The storm attempted to push you into doubt, frustration, or surrender, but your response gradually revealed something different. Instead of allowing the adversity to define your identity, you used the experience to strengthen it. Each moment of endurance became a small confirmation that your resilience was real. Each challenge that failed to break you became evidence that your inner stability was stronger than the environment surrounding you. This realization carries a profound effect on the way someone views themselves. Many people move through life uncertain about their true capacity for resilience because they have never faced a situation that required it fully. They may believe they are strong, but until that belief is tested, it remains theoretical. Adversity transforms theory into experience. It shows someone exactly how much they can endure and what they are capable of becoming when circumstances demand courage. The lesson you gain from this experience, therefore, goes far beyond the specific details of the challenge itself. It revealed a deeper relationship between difficulty and growth. Instead of viewing adversity solely as a negative force, You now understand that it can function as a catalyst for self-discovery. When pressure pushes against someone who refuses to collapse, it often exposes strengths that even the person themselves did not fully recognize before. Another important lesson adversity teaches is the value of self-reliance. When everything appears stable, people often depend heavily on external reassurance or familiar structures for confidence. Friends, routines, and predictable outcomes provide comfort. But when adversity disrupts those structures, a person must rely more heavily on their internal resources. They must find stability within their own mindset rather than in the environment around them. This shift can feel uncomfortable at first because it requires someone to trust their own judgment and resilience more deeply than before. Yet once that trust develops, it becomes one of the most powerful forms of confidence a person can possess. The experience you went through likely strengthened this internal trust. By navigating the storm and remaining steady despite the pressure, you prove to yourself that your ability to endure does not depend entirely on external conditions. That realization changes how future challenges will appear. Situations that once felt intimidating now look more manageable because you have already seen evidence of your resilience in action. The lesson of adversity also reshapes how someone views setbacks. Before facing significant difficulty, people often interpret setbacks as signs of failure or misdirection. They may assume that obstacles indicate something has gone wrong. But once someone has endured adversity and emerged stronger, their interpretation of setbacks begins changing. Instead of seeing every difficulty as a threat, they begin recognizing challenges as opportunities to refine their abilities. The storm becomes part of the process, rather than an interruption of it. This shift in perspective allows resilience to grow naturally. The adversity you faced, therefore, became more than an isolated event. It became a teacher that expanded your understanding of your own strength. The lessons you gained from that experience will continue influencing your decisions and reactions long after the storm itself has faded from memory. Each time a new challenge appears in the future, the memory of how you handled this one will quietly remind you that resilience already exists within you. Observers who watched your response during the difficult moment may also have learned something through your example. When people witness someone handling adversity with composure and determination, it often challenges their assumptions about what strength truly looks like. They realize that resilience does not require dramatic gestures or loud declarations. Sometimes it simply requires the quiet decision to continue standing when circumstances encourage surrender. The lesson you demonstrated through your behavior becomes something others carry with them as well. They remember how you navigated the storm and recognize that endurance is possible even in moments that initially appear overwhelming. In this way, the adversity you faced created value not only for your personal growth, but also for the environment around you. Ultimately, the most important lesson adversity teaches is that strength often grows through resistance rather than comfort. Just as muscles develop through effort rather than inactivity, resilience develops through challenges rather than ease. The storm that once seemed threatening became the very experience that revealed the depth of your endurance. And once that endurance becomes visible, it transforms how you approach every future obstacle that life places in your path. When others begin recognizing, your strength unfolds in a subtle but powerful way, often long after the most intense part of the adversity has already passed. During the storm itself, people are usually too focused on the immediate tension of the situation to fully understand what they are witnessing. Emotions are high, perspectives are limited, and the moment feels uncertain. But as time moves forward and the dust settles, something interesting begins to happen in the minds of those who observed the situation from the outside. They start replaying the moment. They remember the pressure that existed, the tension that filled the environment, and the expectation that things might collapse. And then, they remember how you handled it. This reflection gradually transforms their understanding of what they saw. What once looked like a difficult moment becomes an example of composure under pressure. What once seemed like a simple reaction begins revealing itself as a demonstration of discipline, patience, and inner strength. Recognition does not always arrive immediately, because true strength is often quiet in the moment it is expressed. It does not demand applause or insist on acknowledgement. Instead, it simply acts according to its principles and allows time to reveal the impact of those actions. As observers begin to process what happened, they notice details that may have gone unnoticed before. They remember how you did not escalate the tension, even when the environment tried to provoke a reaction. They recall the way you remained calm, while others might have become overwhelmed. They start seeing the consistency in your behavior, realizing that your response was not accidental, but rooted in a deeper level of self-control and awareness. This gradual recognition carries an important psychological effect on the people around you. When individuals see someone handle adversity with maturity and composure, it challenges their assumptions about strength. Many people have been conditioned to believe that strength must look aggressive, dominant, or confrontational. But witnessing someone remain calm in the middle of pressure reveals a different kind of authority. It shows that real power does not always need to prove itself loudly. Sometimes the most powerful response is the one that remains balanced when everything else becomes unstable. The recognition of your strength, therefore, begins spreading quietly among those who observe the situation. Conversations may begin forming where people reference the way you handled the challenge. Some may express admiration directly, while others may simply adjust the way they perceive you. Respect often grows through these kinds of experiences because people begin associating your presence with stability. They realize that you are someone who can remain grounded when situations become difficult. This realization changes the role you occupy within the social environment around you. You may notice that people begin approaching you differently. Some may seek your perspective when they face challenges of their own because they trust your ability to remain calm. Others may simply treat you with a new level of respect because they recognize that your character has already been tested under pressure. Recognition of strength is not always expressed through words. Often it appears through subtle changes in behavior. People may listen more carefully when you speak. They may hesitate before challenging your judgment because they have already seen evidence of your resilience. These small shifts reveal that the environment around you has begun recalibrating its perception of who you are. This process can sometimes feel surprising because the transformation occurs gradually rather than dramatically. You may not have intended to demonstrate leadership or strength when you faced the adversity. Your primary goal was simply to navigate the situation with integrity. But integrity has a powerful way of revealing itself over time. When someone consistently chooses composure over chaos, patience over impulsiveness, and clarity over confusion, others begin recognizing those qualities, even if they were not initially looking for them. The recognition of your strength also carries an internal impact on your own mindset. When people begin acknowledging the resilience you demonstrated, it reinforces the lessons you already learned from the experience itself. It reminds you that the effort required to remain composed during adversity was not wasted. The discipline you exercised in that moment created a ripple effect that continues influencing the environment around you. At the same time, recognition brings responsibility. When people begin seeing you as someone capable of handling pressure with maturity, they naturally expect a certain level of consistency. This does not mean you must become perfect or immune to difficulty. Instead, it means that your behavior now serves as an example of how resilience can operate in real situations. The way you respond to future challenges will likely continue shaping how others understand strength and composure. In many ways, the adversity you faced has quietly elevated your influence within your environment, not because you sought authority or recognition, but because your actions demonstrated qualities that people naturally respect. Strength revealed under pressure tends to carry more credibility than strength that exists only in theory. When people know that someone has already endured difficult circumstances without losing their balance, they trust that person's judgment more readily. Another interesting aspect of recognition is that it often appears in places you might not expect. Individuals who remained silent during the storm may later approach you with appreciation for how you handled the situation. Others who seemed indifferent at the time may begin expressing respect once they have had time to reflect. These delayed reactions reveal that your actions created an impression even among those who did not immediately express it. Recognition, therefore, becomes another stage in the journey that adversity initiated. The storm revealed your resilience. Reflection allowed others to understand what they witnessed. And now that understanding is transforming the way people relate to you. What once appeared to be a difficult and uncomfortable moment has evolved into something meaningful. It has demonstrated that your strength is not dependent on ideal circumstances. It exists even when the environment becomes challenging. And as more people begin recognizing that truth, your example quietly encourages them to believe that resilience is possible within themselves as well. The strength you demonstrated will shape your future begins revealing an important truth about moments of adversity that many people overlook while they are living through them. During the storm itself, the focus naturally stays on survival. Every decision is made in response to immediate pressure, and the mind concentrates on maintaining balance in the middle of uncertainty. But what often goes unnoticed in that moment is that adversity does more than test your strength in the present. It quietly reshapes the path that unfolds ahead of you. The resilience you demonstrated during that difficult time does not disappear once the storm has passed. Instead, it becomes part of the foundation that supports your future decisions, your mindset, and the way you approach new opportunities and challenges. When someone experiences adversity and handles it with composure, patience, and clarity, something inside them changes permanently. Before the challenge, resilience may have existed as a belief or an aspiration. After the challenge, it becomes a proven reality. The experience itself serves as evidence that strength is not simply an idea, but a quality that has already been expressed under pressure. This realization changes the way future situations appear in your mind. Challenges that once seemed intimidating begin looking more manageable because you now carry the memory of how you endured previous difficulty. That memory becomes a reference point that your mind can return to whenever new obstacles appear. Instead of approaching the future with uncertainty about your ability to endure hardship, you begin approaching it with quiet confidence rooted in experience. This confidence does not mean that future challenges will suddenly become easy or predictable. Life will continue presenting unexpected situations, moments of pressure, and periods of uncertainty. But the difference is that you will now meet those moments with a deeper understanding of your own capabilities. You have already seen what happens when pressure tries to shake you. You have already witnessed your ability to remain steady when circumstances encourage reaction or retreat. That knowledge travels with you into every new chapter of your life. The adversity you faced, therefore, becomes part of your internal training. Much like a person who develops physical strength through repeated effort, emotional and mental resilience grow stronger each time they are tested. The storm that once seemed threatening has now become part of the structure supporting your future growth. Every time you encounter a new challenge, your mind will unconsciously reference the earlier moment when you proved to yourself that endurance was possible. This process creates a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of fearing adversity, you begin recognizing it as a situation you already know how to navigate. Another important aspect of how your demonstrated strength shapes the future is the clarity it brings to your identity. During moments of adversity, people often discover which values they truly stand for. Pressure has a way of revealing priorities that might otherwise remain hidden during comfortable periods. When you handled the difficult situation with discipline and composure, you were not simply reacting to circumstances. You were expressing the deeper principles that guide your behavior. Integrity, patience, and self-respect became visible through your actions. Once these values are expressed under pressure, they become more firmly integrated into your sense of identity. You begin seeing yourself as someone who acts according to these principles, regardless of the environment. This strengthened identity becomes a compass for the future. When new decisions appear, you will naturally refer back to the qualities you demonstrated during adversity. The experience has already shown you what kind of person you are capable of being when circumstances become difficult. That understanding makes it easier to maintain alignment with your values in future situations. Instead of questioning whether you have the strength to respond with maturity and clarity, you already know that you do. The path ahead therefore becomes guided not by fear of uncertainty, but by confidence in your own character. The strength you demonstrated will also influence how others interact with you moving forward. As people continue recognizing the composure and resilience you displayed, their expectations will gradually shift. Many will begin seeing you as someone capable of handling responsibility and complexity. They may approach you with greater respect, seek your perspective during challenging situations, or trust your judgment in ways they may not have before. This shift in perception creates new opportunities for influence and leadership, even if leadership was never your original intention. When someone consistently demonstrates stability during adversity, others naturally gravitate toward that stability. They sense that the person possesses a grounded mindset that can guide them through uncertainty. This kind of influence often emerges organically rather than through deliberate effort. By simply remaining true to your values during a difficult moment, you created an example that continues shaping how others perceive strength and composure. The future impact of that example may appear in unexpected ways. Someone who witnessed how you handled the situation may later apply the same approach in their own life. Another person may feel encouraged to remain calm during their own challenge because they remember how you navigated yours. In this way, the resilience you demonstrated does not only affect your personal journey, it quietly contributes to the growth of those who observed your behavior. Your response becomes a reference point that others can draw inspiration from when they encounter their own storms. As time continues moving forward, you may occasionally reflect on the moment of adversity that once seemed overwhelming. When you do, the memory will likely carry a different meaning than it did while you were experiencing it. Instead of remembering only the tension and uncertainty, you will recognize the transformation that occurred through the process. The challenge became the moment when your resilience revealed itself fully. It became the moment when your identity grew stronger and your confidence deepened. And most importantly, it became the moment that prepared you for the future ahead. The strength you demonstrated was never meant to remain confined to that single situation. It was meant to become part of who you are from this point forward. Every future challenge will meet someone who has already proven their ability to stand firm under pressure. Every opportunity will meet someone who understands the value of patience and composure. And every new chapter of your life will carry the quiet influence of the resilience you developed during that storm. The adversity may have been temporary, but the strength it revealed will continue shaping your journey long after the storm itself has faded into memory. The strength you demonstrated will shape your future continues unfolding in ways that may not be immediately visible, because the influence of true resilience often grows quietly beneath the surface before it becomes obvious in the direction a life begins to take. What you experienced was not merely a difficult situation that required endurance for a short period of time. It was a moment that revealed the architecture of your inner world. When adversity presses hard against a person and they remain steady, something important is confirmed inside them. They begin understanding that their stability is not fragile. It does not depend on ideal circumstances or constant approval from others. Instead, it comes from a deeper place, a place where values, discipline, and self-awareness combine to form a kind of internal structure that can hold steady even when everything around it shifts. Once someone becomes aware of this internal structure, the way they move through life inevitably changes. Before the challenge occurred, you may have approached uncertainty with caution, wondering how you would respond if situations became difficult or unpredictable. That kind of uncertainty is natural because until strength has been tested, it remains partially theoretical. But the adversity you faced removed that uncertainty. The experience itself provided the evidence. It showed you that when pressure increases, you do not collapse into confusion. Instead, you become more focused, more deliberate, more grounded. That realization becomes a quiet source of confidence that travels with you wherever you go next. This confidence does not manifest as arrogance or the belief that nothing can ever go wrong again. Instead, it manifests as calm assurance. You understand that life will continue presenting unexpected challenges, but you also understand something equally important. You have already proven your ability to endure difficulty without losing your balance. This understanding changes the way the future appears. Challenges no longer look like walls blocking your path. They begin looking more like terrain that can be navigated. Just as a traveler who has already crossed difficult mountains approaches the next range with greater composure, you now carry the knowledge that resilience is something you possess, rather than something you hope to discover someday. The future therefore becomes less intimidating, because you are no longer approaching it from a place of uncertainty about your own strength. Another powerful effect of the resilience you demonstrated is the sharpening of your perception. Adversity often teaches people to see situations more clearly, because pressure removes illusions that might otherwise remain unnoticed. During comfortable periods of life, it is easy to assume that stability will always exist, or that the environment around us will remain predictable. But once someone has experienced a genuine storm and remained steady through it, they begin observing the world with greater awareness. You start noticing the early signals of tension before situations escalate. You recognize patterns in human behavior more quickly. You become more attentive to the difference between noise and truth. This heightened awareness becomes another advantage that shapes your future decisions. Instead of reacting impulsively to circumstances, you move through situations with thoughtful observation. You understand that not every challenge requires immediate confrontation. Sometimes the most effective response is patience, allowing events to reveal themselves before deciding how to act. The adversity you faced strengthened this capacity for observation because it forced you to slow down and remain mentally present while pressure surrounded you. That ability will continue serving you as new opportunities and challenges appear in your path. The strength you demonstrated also refines the way you define success moving forward. Before experiencing significant adversity, many people measure progress primarily through external achievements or recognition. They focus on visible outcomes such as praise, advancement, or approval. But when someone has endured a storm and maintained their integrity throughout it, the definition of success becomes deeper and more meaningful. You begin valuing internal alignment more than external validation. Success becomes the ability to remain true to your principles, even when circumstances attempt to push you in another direction. This shift in perspective provides a kind of emotional freedom because it reduces the influence that outside opinions can have on your sense of direction. You become less dependent on approval and more focused on living in alignment with the values that proved themselves during adversity. Over time, this alignment naturally attracts opportunities that resonate with who you truly are. People who value integrity recognize the qualities you demonstrated and feel drawn to collaborate or connect with someone who carries that kind of stability. In this way, the resilience you expressed begins quietly shaping the environment around you. The future you step into is influenced not only by your decisions, but also by the reputation of strength and composure that your actions created. It is also important to recognize that the strength you demonstrated becomes a form of guidance for others who encounter their own moments of difficulty. People often learn the most powerful lessons not through lectures or instructions, but through observing how someone behaves when circumstances become challenging. The way you navigated adversity becomes a living example that resilience is possible. Someone who saw how you remained calm may remember that moment when they faced their own challenge. Another person who witnessed your discipline may realize that stability under pressure is achievable with the right mindset. In this way, the impact of your resilience extends beyond your personal journey. It becomes part of the broader environment you influence simply by living according to the principles that carried you through the storm. Looking forward, the most important realization is that the strength you demonstrated is not something temporary that appeared only once. It is now part of your identity. The storm revealed it, but the strength itself was already growing within you long before the adversity arrived. Now that it has been proven, it becomes easier to trust it. Future decisions will be guided by the quiet understanding that you are capable of remaining steady, even when life becomes unpredictable. This understanding transforms uncertainty into possibility. Instead of seeing the unknown as something threatening, you begin seeing it as space where growth and opportunity can unfold. The resilience you developed during that difficult moment therefore becomes a foundation upon which your future will continue building itself. And as the years pass, the moment that once felt like a test may eventually be remembered as the turning point when you fully recognize the depth of your own strength. The storm revealed who you truly are. Gradually brings the entire journey into clearer focus, because what once appeared to be a difficult and uncomfortable situation has now revealed itself as something far more meaningful. At the beginning of the challenge, the adversity likely felt overwhelming, confusing, and perhaps even unfair. Moments like that often arrive without warning, testing a person's patience, clarity, and emotional balance all at once. In the middle of that pressure, it can be difficult to understand why the situation is happening or what purpose it might serve. But now, looking back on the way you moved through that storm, a deeper realization begins forming. The adversity did not simply challenge you, it revealed you. It revealed the strength that already existed within your character, the patience you had developed through earlier experiences, and the discipline that allowed you to remain steady when circumstances tried to provoke reaction or collapse. What truly impressed those who observed the situation was not just that you endured the difficulty, but the way you endured it. Instead of allowing frustration, anger, or confusion to control your response, you demonstrated composure. Instead of reacting impulsively, you chose clarity. Instead of losing yourself in the chaos of the moment, you remained aligned with the values that define who you are. That kind of response cannot be forced or imitated easily, because it grows from the deeper layers of a person's identity. The storm therefore acted like a spotlight, illuminating qualities that might otherwise have remained hidden during quieter periods of life. And once those qualities become visible, they cannot be unseen. The people around you now recognize the resilience you carry. More importantly, you recognize it within yourself. That awareness becomes one of the most valuable outcomes of the entire experience. You now understand that strength is not something distant or theoretical. It is something you have already demonstrated in reality. As you move forward into the next chapters of your life, that understanding will continue guiding the way you approach challenges, opportunities, and relationships. The storm may have passed, but the resilience it revealed will continue shaping the path ahead, reminding you that even when life becomes unpredictable, the stability within you remains strong enough to stand.